Am I on?
Hey, we're all here.
Yay, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Okay, Benzion, we're here.
Hi.
Okay, Benzion, can you do me a favor? Please, could you look at Facebook and make sure that we're rolling?
Yes.
All you guys who are tuning in, who just got a notification that we are live, thank you for joining in with us. That was a superb reception yesterday of our idea, and we are so grateful. Quick introduction. I'm Rivka Malka, Perlman. We are here with Quarantined with Your Spouse, How
to rock your marriage.
Mhm.
And we're learning how to rock technology. So far, it's a little bumpy, but we'll get there.
That's right. Eventually, we get all the viruses out of the computer. That's a terrible joke.
Okay, 1 second. I don't know what happened, but do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Devorah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I am Devorah Barusan. I am the lucky sister of Benzion and Rivka Malka both. We're really excited to present this to you. I do marriage counseling all the time, regularly, and Rivka Malka and I do intimacy courses online, and Benzion is very heavily involved. And so this is a real treat for me and for us all to be together and to be able to offer this to you. So we're happy you joined us.
Yay.
Yes.
Benzion, do you want to introduce yourself? Just because everyone's just getting warmed up to this idea?
Absolutely. We just shared it to my Facebook as well. We got people watching.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is really important. We're all locked at home, and we want to do something good for the world. This is the time. We can either, turn on Netflix or watch YouTube videos or sleep, or we can try to make the world better in ways that would have been a little bit more difficult if we wouldn't have that slot of time and that focus. So really excited to be here with my wonderful sisters, Devorah and Rivka Malka. And I hope that we'll all learn something about how to be better husbands and wives.
Amen to that. Okay, folks, I want to tell you our format, our proposed format. Are you ready? Here it goes. My internet connection is unstable despite the fact that I keep on upgrading it. I may not be on right this minute. I don't know. I'm going to keep talking.
When your face is frozen in a certain look, you just never know. But this is a very contemplative, what do you say, Devorah? It's a very contemplative look that Rivka Malka is sporting. Something, it's a mixture of humble yet wise. Yeah, I'm
everything that embodies who Rivka Malka is.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You know what I would do, Devorah? Make your camera a little bit more. There's too much space between the top. Yeah, like even lower the camera a little. So
okay, well,
a little taller.
There you go.
Yeah, somewhat better. Good.
Better? Okay, now you're back.
If I leave, just like take over and say great things about me. No, I'm joking. Just keep talking because I don't know. We keep upgrading our internet here. I was just telling the audience, if they heard me, that our format is we start with the story, we head into discussion, and Rabbi Klatzka, do you want to start with the story?
Yeah, let's make today's story not a story, but
Okay.
a story, but not a story. We'll just keep it real, and it could not get more real than this. So yours truly has coronavirus. Yay. Coronavirus is a challenge. So first of all, I thank Hashem. It seems to be more of a mild case. I've had it now for sure since not this past Shabbat, but last Shabbat. So I am sporting now at least 10 days of coronaness. And it comes and goes in terms of fever and coughing and so on. So I'll tell you something about men. We are wimps. You give us a little sniffle and we're like in bed, oh no, I'm dying. It's the reason that the Almighty had women give birth, because men would bail. It's just like, that's just who we are. We look so tough, but we're not. So what happens if you have coronavirus in the house and you're married. So I'll tell you what happens. You share everything from special moments to bites of food and drinks of champagne and Corona-ness as well. And so now my wife has coronavirus. So we used to have a rule, actually this rule held strong for 32 years. We're not allowed to get sick at the same time. That's just a rule in the house. If she's sick, I can't be sick. If I'm sick, she can't be sick, because who's going to run the show? Well, for the first time in 32 years of marriage, we broke that rule. Not only that, the kids are sick because, yay, sharing is caring. So we're all caring for each other. We all have all sorts of interesting symptoms. What do you know? It's a few weeks before Pesach. And what do you know? We decided at this point to do some home construction. So I've got 10 construction people, and sawdust is flying everywhere. The hammers are banging, and we all have corona, and the kids are all home. So the great challenge right now is the challenge of empathy. And it's how to be in your own pain and yet put your pain aside and not have to have the other person's pain valid only because you're in pain. There's such a personality where certain people cannot feel another person's predicament unless they've had something similar to that happen in their lives. So when you tell them you were in a car crash, they'll say, yeah, it was terrible because I was in a car crash also. Just to be there present for your pain without having to relate it to their pain. And I find, and I would just start, kick this off with that idea that I'm in pain. This morning, I was just in bad shape, and my wife brought me not one, but 2 coffees. And it took a long time for me to get the coughs out of my system and so on. When I finally got to myself, at that point, it was her corona moment, and she had to go to bed. And the truth of the matter is she wasn't. She said, I feel like I need to push on. And I said, why do you need to push on? I feel like you need to go to bed. And she said, thank you. I really needed to hear that from you. I said, yes, I'm putting you to bed. So I put her to bed because you don't always have to push. And even though I was feeling miserable, it was her turn to feel miserable. So, and I knew she hadn't eaten, so I made her some nice grilled cheese sandwiches and some honey lemon tea and, sort of lunch in bed. And she feels loved and cared for. And then I know in a few hours she'll rebound because that's the nature. And maybe that is the first challenge when you are quarantined together, is when you're both feeling miserable together. And even if you have children, much more so if you have children, how does one keep the peace while feeling that the next person is nurturing you and caring for you, while understanding that you also have to be nurturing, and maybe this is not your moment to be sick, totally, but you have to share being the nurse and the patient at the same time. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that?
I want to hear what Deborah has to say, but I also want to just imagine it's an accordion, open up the accordion, because what you're saying is so deep. I feel like we're quarantined for life, and you're married, you're together for life. And I found we have actual years. I'm not talking about months, days, or weeks. I'm talking about years where one spouse is thriving, top of their game. The other, don't be scared of the cough. Do what you have to do because it's very important. One spouse is thriving and the other spouse is in a slump. And this dynamic, this ability to give to each other, and how do you just keep going with life and with the children when it's not your turn? And the awareness that there actually are turns in life. So yeah, I'd love what you have to say, Deborah, to hear what you have to say.
I think it's beautiful how you just expanded that to full life. And actually it's even more than that, because not only do you have to be compassionate to each other, but you have to summon up that extra energy to give to your children, and that extra love and that extra patience. And sometimes neither one of you is it's your turn to be sick. And correct me if I'm wrong, Vincian, but children who are in pain aren't always able to hold off until you're feeling better.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
So definitely there's a lot of giving that goes on, and a lot of empathy and a lot of understanding that you have to give. And as Rivka Malka said, this is something you have to give your whole life. Sometimes it's your turn, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're both doing really well together, and so your eyes aren't open to when your spouse is starting down a slump, when they need a little bit of extra. And you don't really even notice it because you're both just gliding. It's more obvious when somebody really isn't feeling well or thriving or feeling successful. It's a little bit harder when you don't even notice it. And I think maybe one of the ways to open your eyes in the situation of life, and specifically in the situation of quarantine, whether you're sick or you're not, is basically to be very present and keep your eyes open for the emotional temperature of everybody who's there, because it's so much more than physical when you're all together. Yes, there's all the meals that need to be made, and there's the diapers that need to be changed, or the parents that need to be taken care of, but the emotional temperature is something that you have to take many more times during the day and see who's needing what. Whose turn is it now?
Mm.
Can I invoke, I like, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to invoke the words of Chazal as we go through this, because I think the last thing that we want to do is just create homespun wisdom, because really any parent who has been around, hopefully if they've been a good parent. So there's a well-known Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says Lefum Tsa'ara Agra, which means according to the difficulty, so is the reward. And I think at this time, this is a great saying of the rabbis to keep in mind. It's easy to be a good spouse when you're feeling excellent, when you're feeling romantic, when you're feeling whole and well. But there is a reward. Judaism believes that we are rewarded for our actions, and the more noble the action and the more difficult the action is, the greater the action is. And when I'm not feeling well and I schlep myself out of bed because my wife means so much to me that she's going to get my attention, and more than that, I'm not even going to show on my face that I'm not feeling well. Like
That's so huge.
That's going to be part of it, right?
On behalf of all humanity. Yes, that little hesitation, that little it just doesn't feel good.
No. To invoke another Chazal, another of the rabbis. Excuse me. We're good. Got it under control, God willing. The rabbis in Masechtas Kiddushin say that if a person honors their parents and they give them very sparse food, hard bread, but they do it with a smile, it's a bigger mitzvah than if you honor your parents with delicious meats and big meals, but you do it with a sour face. And we'd have to say it's going to be the same way when it comes to honoring your spouse. So if you're going to do it, then you're going to be there for your spouse, even when you're feeling miserable. Number one, lefum tsa'ara agra, according to the difficulty, so is the reward. And I don't mean like twice the reward. We don't know, but I'll throw out a number. Maybe it's 100 times greater. 100 times greater going to your spouse and helping them. Yesterday, Shani, my wife, did Pesach shopping, and she shops in one shot for the whole Pesach. So she has a van full of food. And then she's like, I really can't do it on my own. I came out of bed and I'm schlepping heavy meats. And she said, it meant so much to me. I know you're not feeling well, that you came down and you schlepped the meats. That's maybe 100 times greater than if I was feeling healthy, because it was difficult. And even though I'm speaking aloud, I'm going to say one last thing. Not only heavenly reward, but I think, and maybe you could elaborate on this, I think your marriage is rewarded, lefum tsa'ara agra, because when you help your spouse during the difficult times, that creates a memory marker that is not soon forgotten. Like when I really needed you, when I was not feeling great, I wasn't feeling pretty, I wasn't feeling competent, I wasn't feeling on my game, you were there, and I'm not going to forget it. So there's a lot of motivation to overcome.
Yeah. I have two stories that are coming to mind. I'll try to make them quick because I love that we are moving back and forth. Okay, one story was when I learned exactly what you just said, the memory markers. So we were in upstate New York, and my husband wanted to take the children on a hike to the blueberry bushes that he used to go to as a young boy. So the children were so little, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, something like that. And we were going through the woods on a summer day in upstate New York, and we're going down this trail and we're not finding it. And the littlest one could barely walk, and it's so muddy that your feet sink into the mud because the ground is moist and it's not ending. And I'm like, can we just turn back, please? I can't. And I'm really feeling like I kind of can't, but I want to do this for him. And I'm going. We keep going. I'm like having one kid. He's got 2 kids in his hands. It's just basically a disaster. We're sweaty and mosquito-y, and we finally get to the clearing, and there's nothing there. Nothing. There's like some stone steps. So we turn back around and we go through the woods, through this mud and everything. And I like a good mud fight, but not like that, you know, not with just, okay, come back, we go get some popsicles, end of the day. But here's the thing. I don't remember anything from our entire trip upstate, but the awful hike. So there's a saying that says, you never remember a good night's sleep. It's the times when you stayed up all night because something was crazy. That's what you remember. So I love that you called it a memory marker when times are tough. It imprints on us, and that imprint, we can make it something very, very special. And I like that perspective for when things are really crazy, like when you have to try hard to do something. It's like Hashem is making it more alive for us. We can't coast through it. It's memorable. And I have one more story, and that is that this was so pivotal in my life, huge, huge pivotal. I'm going to say it in short though, but know that it was pivotal. So we moved back from Eretz Israel, from the land of Israel. We came here to begin a rabbinic career. As we were beginning our rabbinic career, my husband looked inside and he said, I am not meant to be a pulpit rabbi. This is not what I want to do. I want to welcome people around my Shabbos table. And the thing is, he had been studying essentially for 10 years to be a rabbi. So this was huge for us. I had 4 little children living in my mother-in-law's house. I was really set on being rabbi's wife. I had that all mapped out. And it was like everything came crumbling. No job, no money, but most importantly, no identity, no mission. And we're both very idealistic, so this was crushing, as in like
something really, really crushing. Like
he's remembering how crushing, feeling it.
She got lost in that memory of crushingness. Wow, you could relate to that, can't you, to her?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm gonna wait until she gets back on for a minute, or I could tell you what this brings to mind for me. Oh, here she is. Awesome.
Okay. So basically, this was a time in my life. I got married very, very young. And when you're very young, you're just learning how to love your husband. Like you really love yourself at the beginning, and you're really in love with your husband, but you're learning how to love this other person for real. And so I remember days and days and days, months and months and months where we didn't know what we're doing with our life. We didn't have a job. We didn't have a dream. Everything was just like a flat line. And there was a lot of criticism coming our way. It was very, very painful criticism. And nobody understood him. And I knew who is going to be the only person in the world who's going to stand beside him. It's got to be me. And I also.
She did, because she's always been a very supportive, loving wife.
Right. You're a rabbanit. You were very supportive of her for many years. And I mean, can you say you're not even from the same ethnicity? Are you?
Well, I am. We have the same parents. My husband, however,
Your
my
hus-
husband, however, is Persian. Definitely, in a lot of our interaction, both our shul and the time we spent in Vienna was all with Persians. And it takes a really lot to be supportive of somebody who shares themselves with the whole world.
You're saying I have a Persian brother-in-law?
You have a Persian brother-in-law?
Yeah.
I know. You just can't tell when you look at him. The accent never gives it away.
Kheli khub.
There you go. She was actually making me remember a time when we were in Vienna.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was the Rebbitzin. We were having 30 people. Oh, here she is. You're back.
I'm finishing the story. I'm
Good.
gonna.
We want to hear.
One paragraph. I thank you, Hashem, for my mother's wonderful wisdom that I grew up with. I knew he needs me to stand by him. And it was confusing for me to stand by him, but stand by your man. And basically what that looked like is whatever it looked like, and a lot of davening, and we got through it. And, you know, we can talk about the rest of our life another time. However.
Did she just finish?
I think that was only half the paragraph, not the whole paragraph.
Okay, listen, Zoom is trying their best. I know Zoom.
They really are. They're supporting a lot of Divrei Torah right now, a lot of words of chizuk. There are so many neshamas out there that are gaining on a daily basis from Zoom. And it sounds funny to say, but we have to have a hakar sato for everything that nurtures us, including Zoom.
Absolutely. Okay, you're back, but we don't hear you. Let's see. No.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, welcome back.
I'm going to get it in real quick. That time required a lot of investment of love actually became a time that I referred back to in my marriage all the time of our unity despite our confusion.
Can you synopsize what you said, because it was broken up in like 3 sentences, what the challenge was?
Lahagir baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha balelos, to sing your praises in the good times and be trustworthy by night. That the good times are good, but the trust, the bond that's built when things are tough is even better.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Okay,
well
if
done.
I go off again, that's that.
No.
Beautiful.
You're worth
Thank
waiting for. Devorah, what do you say? You had an idea?
I think that's tremendously encouraging for everyone.
Yeah.
It's true. And especially now, because people are making all sorts of decisions to go to work, not to go to work, to stay home, to take the proper care of themselves, to quarantine properly, to not go out. So many decisions, and it's so easy to think we know better. And we don't. That's not our job. Our job is to stand there and support, to encourage the right way, but to support whatever decision our spouses make, both towards a husband and towards a wife, both when it's physically exhausting and when it's emotionally taxing.
Absolutely. So if you want to give a message to the listening audience, the watching audience, you know, Devorah, you've had many years of experience helping couples. And I know a lot of people who are watching, you know, you're going to be at home more. People aren't going to work. Instead of having your marriage regress, what tool can you give that the marriage should actually improve and even benefit from being quarantined together?
I think the most important message I would give is to give it your best, the same as any other time. Just because you're quarantined doesn't mean you shouldn't get dressed in the morning, put on makeup. As a matter of fact, I look better these days quarantined than I ever did before, because my husband is home every single day. That's really important. The things that make a marriage strong, the support, the structure. If you're a couple that goes to bed at the same time because that's important to your spouse, do it anyway. It's important. Just because you don't have to be up at a certain time in the morning doesn't mean that it's less important for you to go to bed at the same time. If you generally sit down to coffee in the morning, do that also. That's a really important thing to do. Any share times that you had, continue to do it, bring forth your best, and also make sure while you're bringing forth your best that in a normal day, your spouse has space. He has space or she has space to do the things that they need to do without being interrupted, being able to be in their own headspace to focus on what it is they want to accomplish, and not to be judgmental if what they want to accomplish is Netflix. For some people, that's actually an accomplishment. They run very busy all the time. You know, of course, they also want to spend time hearing divrei chizuk, hearing words of encouragement and Torah thoughts. But whatever it is, your husband is sitting and learning more, give him the encouragement, the pride that you would normally. Be your best, only more so, because you're together as you always are, only more so. And so it calls for you to rise to the occasion.
Beautiful.
Wow. And I would also say, if I can add one more thing, always make your spouse your priority, which is not so easy in a house when children are home all the time and they're begging for your attention, or they're fighting and you want to stop in the middle and go take care of things, or one isn't feeling well. Always check in regularly with your spouse. See what they need before you tend to the needs of the family, because your shalom bayis, peace in your home between you and your husband or you and your wife, is what's going to make your children ultimately feel safe, even though they're stuck in the house all the time. That will give them that feeling of loving safety and security in their home.
Beautiful, beautiful. I would even say that in order to be there for your spouse, get in the habit. If you're not in the habit yet, get in the habit of trying to read their face. Try to read what they're not saying as much as what they are saying. I saw this morning, my wife was cleaning up, and I showed her something, and she didn't have her typical enthusiasm. And I could have just chalked it up. Okay, she wasn't that interested in what I was showing her. But then I thought, no, usually your spouse shows you something, you at least feign interest. So the next time she came in the room, I said, Shani, are you okay? She said, no, really, I'm worn out. I feel like I'm pushing. I said, okay, got to get you to bed. So you have an opportunity, because you're in close proximity, to be a little bit more of a face reader, a little more than usual. We always have to be that way. We always have to be, we call it, have your spidey sense really tingly when you see that your spouse is a little bit annoyed or a little bit frustrated or a little bit maxed. But now even more so, and one of the greatest things that I'm going to speak on behalf of women from men as a man, the greatest thing that we can give our wives, men, if you're listening, I imagine most people here are women, because they have more brains to know that this is important. But for the men who are watching, the most important thing you could do at this point is to validate. Validate that it's hard to have the kids at home. Validate that it's a few weeks before Pesach. Validate that they may not be feeling so well. Validate that the house cannot be spick and span with all the kids around. It's just not going to be. And tell them, use the word validate. I validate how difficult this is. I don't expect a gourmet supper, and I don't expect a pristine house. Let's just keep the shalom. Reflect, validate.
Wow.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you said that. I don't think a man can properly grasp what that feels like to a woman. It's like you really want to get it right. You really want to make your husband happy. Just the words coming at you like, it's all good. It's all good that the house is not okay. It's all good dinner's not okay. I get what this experience. I mean, that's like, you just, you want her to lose 20 pounds. She just lost 20 pounds. Not that you want her to lose 20 pounds, but yes. Wow. And let's use these words for our husbands, perhaps. Some questions anytime. This works for all of life, but that both validating and saying, how can I help you? What do you need?
Absolutely.
I really want to be here for you. This is like any time of day or night, because sometimes your husband is just doing what he's doing, and just by you asking that question, it's just nurturing. And maybe there will be a coffee delivered to his desk right then, maybe not. Maybe he'll think of something you could do for him. But what do you say to that, Vincia?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, speaking on behalf of the male species,
Yes.
if you were to ask most men, I imagine this is not a scientific poll. If you were to ask most men what they are looking for in a home, it is a stress-free environment. They want things to be stress-free. Now, sometimes men create the stress, but not, I just never found as good a word as in Hebrew. The word is sababa, just a little bit of sababaness, a little bit of
Nice.
a little bit of chill. If things are chill, I think most men would rather a more chill house, which is a little more disheveled, a little more chilled, even though the food is not gourmet, because chill means we're okay with each other, and if we're okay with each other, then we can be quarantined together, and we won't get on each other's nerves. So, I think there's that. It's 2:00 over here in the Eastern, so we're over our half an hour. I would also say I think we're gonna find our rhythm here.
I have like 10 things in my head. I'm so excited that we're stopping.
I know.
I'm excited.
Yeah. We're gonna find our rhythm. We're not gonna keep you on too long, but as we find our rhythm, the banter will be a little more connected and focused, and we want you to feel that you came away with something that you can work with the rest of the day. Is that so?
Yes. Consider this your daily dose of love, to open up the love that's in your heart for your spouse, because sometimes you just need to be reminded of it. And if there's a moment that you
Yes, if there's a moment that you forget what we talked about today, so a quick review. Number one, it's possible for you to be sick and yet you still to be a nurturer. We don't always have that luxury of both being sick, especially when there are children involved. Devorah, you had a very important point. Can you remind us of your point?
Be present at all times for your husband, for your children. Bring your best forward. Be ready for them. Be there for them, not just to be, and they should be taking care of you. Everyone's taking care of each other. I think that's what we're all here for. I think Rivka Malka and Vincia, and I feel like we're here to give support to everybody who's there for each other. That's what being in quarantine together is. Being there for each other instead of feeling like you're stuck with each other. If I feel like if we can get out of our heads and come out of this with an attitude change, then you will have gained from today. An attitude change, something that says, I can do this. I can support the people I love. I can even like the people I love. I can love the people I love. I can love being with them.
Excellent. And then we also mentioned Lefum Sa'ara Agra, which means according to the difficulty, so is the reward. Rivka Malka, her internet connection is not so strong. We're just reviewing all the points that we said. So we said Lefum Sa'ara Agra, according to the difficulty, so is the reward. And the reward is, of course, what we say, min hashamayim, mean the heavenly spiritual reward, as well as it paying it back. Rivka Malka pointed out that this was a memory marker. She told us two wonderful stories, one about the hike, and then she, where there was just one memory marker, how difficult the hike was. And then this other memory marker, which is how she was there for her husband, supporting when there was a lot of criticism, and that's the stuff that sticks. So this is a historic time. So Lefum Sa'ara Agra, that's something that we're going to work on as well. And anything else that I missed that we spoke about?
Do for each other. That's all.
There we go.
Open up the love you have for one another. Give to each other, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely. See y'all tomorrow.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.